What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to go over Donald Trump's latest message to the nation regarding transgender and gender affirming care. If you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if you have any thoughts or comments, leave them down below. With that out of the way, let's get into it.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children.
One of my biggest issues with the left today is their obsession with transitioning children. When it comes to adults, that's one thing, but the obsession with claiming that children should be going through these gruesome surgeries and be put on these very hard pharmaceutical drugs for life is absolute insanity to me. Somebody has to put their foot down on this, because if they don't, we are going to have a seriously messed up generation of kids.
I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age.
The left always likes to say that LGBTQ plus is not about, sexualizing things, but they just prove themselves wrong at every single corner. First off, it's literally your sexual identity. How does it not have everything to do with sex? Second off, we should not be talking about this in schools. When I was in school, we never talked about this stuff. I didn't know if any of my teachers were gay or not because it didn't matter. It's not pertinent to learning in a school environment. It's actually crazy when you look at some of these really, really lived out teachers. And it's scary knowing that these are the people who are molding the minds of the next generation. This is a social contagion, and it has real dangerous effects on the lives of those that it possesses.
I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately.
I have always said that the transgender ideology is Big Pharma's next big cash cow. They got caught with the opiates. They can't keep pushing that out anymore. They can only use scare tactics with COVID for so long. I truly think that gender affirming healthcare is Big Pharma's next cash cow, and we know how Big Pharma rolls. They will stop at nothing to gain those profits. The average dollar amount per trans patient is $3 million. To suggest that Big Pharma does not have a serious financial incentive to keep pushing this ideology is ludicrous, and that is what they're doing. And just like with the opiate situation, we are going to have another generation now that is completely messed up due to Big Pharma, just in a different way. It's going to hinder their life just like it has hindered those who have suffered from addiction, all rooting back to Big Pharma.
The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable.
To me, it's very sinister how the left has to constantly cover up the fact that puberty blockers and hormones are not reversible. It is common knowledge in the medical community that puberty blockers and hormones do have a permanent effect, and the left constantly tries to cover this up by denying that fact. The left is obsessed with denying reality, and that is why I personally can no longer partake in it. To me, that indicates something very sinister. Anytime you have to deny reality, something is very wrong, and I truly believe when we look back years from now on the culture war that is happening in America right now, gender ideology is going to be one of the biggest factors in it. These doctors are not being truthful with their patients, who are kids, about the side effects of all these medications and all of the potential side effects with these surgeries. They aren't being honest. And that is why we are seeing so many detransitioners come out and tell their story about what happened to them on their journey of transitioning.
We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers which are in no way licensed or approved for this use.
Lupron is one of the most prescribed puberty blockers to patients who are looking to transition. Lupron is also used to chemically castrate violent sex offenders in prison. And what's interesting is when you search Lupron in Google, that part of what I just told you is so difficult to find. Google has prostate cancer, breast cancer, endometriosis, uterine fibroids, and transgender hormone therapy listed as uses of this drug before the castration of violent sex offenders. Why are we giving kids the same drugs that we give to violent sex offenders to chemically castrate them? It's insanity.
As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth.
And I have been saying this for so long. I have been trying to tell members of the LGBTQ plus etc. movement for so long that this is what is going to happen. You guys have taken it too far. The pendulum is going to have to swing the other way. And now, even some of the things that I would have been personally okay with meeting on the middle on, they're off the table because you can't be trusted. It's just evident. Personally, I really don't care what you do as a grown adult. Like, we're literally in America. It's up to you to decide what you want to do. And I personally do acknowledge that gender dysphoria is a real mental illness, but I do know that it affects such a small amount of the world population that it is ridiculous that it is such a large piece of the overall conversation in modern culture today. I don't want these rights to be taken away for those who actually need it, but at the same time, because this community has just taken it so out of control, this is the natural consequence of that. Parents are worried for their children because they don't want them to get caught up in a social contagion. Women like myself are tired of our identities being threatened every day. And because the majority of the world population is not transgender, unfortunately, we have to put those people in mind first. Let me be clear. Personally, I do not care as a grown adult what you decide to do. But if we're going to continue on with the transgender thing, we need to be introducing therapy back into this as a vital piece of the process. Most people who think that they are transgender are simply just mentally ill. Whether gender dysphoria is the mental illness at hand or something different is literally what we're trying to figure out. But the left has gone so far that they have totally erased that part of the process in gender affirming care altogether.
And we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today.
And that's why I say that there is a social contagion element in this. And what that stems from is the left's obsession with oppression. The more oppressed you are, the more valued you should be in society. And because of that, this younger generation has been conditioned to be scared of just being a normal white straight person. So the left has created a totem pole, if you will, of oppression. And the higher you are on the totem pole, aka the more oppressed you are, the more you should be valued in society. Rather than judge your value based on what you produce and bring to the table as a human being, the left has watered your identity down to how oppressed you are. The left has watered down your identity and your value in society to what you look like on the outside. And because the left is currently winning the culture war, that is why we are seeing kids out of nowhere want to be gay or want to be trans, because it gives them oppression points. My generation and the generation beneath me has been so socially conditioned to think if you are a white straight male, which is a lot of the population, by the way, you are essentially the devil. So kids nowadays are looking for any opportunity and any out of that label because the left is so obsessed with labels.
It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
And I always want to say this to people who are liberal. Democrats don't actually care about you. They just use these minority groups as pawns to win elections, but they don't ever do anything for you.